my nativity set comes from Holland. I have a very dear friend here in Yellowknife. Her name is Lisbeth, and Lisbeth is originally from the Netherlands. She came here about 25 years ago to marry our friend Steve. And over the years, Lisbeth has had various relatives visit from the Netherlands, and we've met them. And in 2009, her sister Willeke and her son Koen came for Christmas. And we often spend important occasions like Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving with Steve and Lisbeth and their son Reese. So that year we had them over for New Year's Day, New Year's dinner. And Willeke brought a hostess gift, and it was that little nativity set. And it's very tiny. It's about the tallest one. Joseph is about an inch tall, I would say. So it was easy for her to transport that on the plane when she came to visit. So at that time, 2009, Koen was 13 years old, and both he and his mother spoke English very well, as many Europeans do. And we had a really nice visit with them. And I really, really liked the nativity scene that they brought us. And every year, when I take it out of its tiny little box, I think of them and I wonder how they're doing. So this year, in preparation for this little talk, I thought, well, I'll just phone Lisbeth and find out how they are doing. And what she told me is that Koen is now 19 years old, and that he's in post-secondary school and studying graphic design. And Willeke continues her work as a psychologist. She works in an institution with mentally challenged children, and especially children with severe epilepsy. I really like that it came from the other side of the world, and I understand that where Willeke bought it was one of those stores with third world products, and Lisbeth thinks that this was actually made in Africa, so that makes it even extra special. Mary is maybe 3/4 of an inch tall, and the baby Jesus there in the cradle is tiny, very tiny. And then there's just one sheep and one donkey, so it's a very simple set.
The creche that I have is special to our family, probably because even leading up to finding it, I was given one ornament from my sister-in-law who's been traveling in Guatemala, and this was about 35 years ago. So even though these ornaments are quite popular now, back then they weren't everywhere, and there was just something beautiful about, well, clearly about the image. It was sort of whimsical and colorful, but the story about how this whole cottage industry of creating these ornaments had given such great hope to these people in Central America. So when I saw another one of clearly the same style in a catalog, I was thrilled to see it. I like how sort of small it is. It's very humble in its size, but it's absolutely vibrant and striking in its color. And I just think that, the message of hope, the way the gospel lives in the world, and the circumstances of the time in Nicaragua, Guatemala at that time, etc. It was just places that clearly, needed a message of hope, and here they were creating messages of hope for the whole world through the making of these beautiful ornaments, which now I think are available kind of everywhere and are noted for being from that particular place.
This nativity set is made of thornwood and comes from Nigeria in West Africa. My mother purchased it when we were living there in 1967. I think we had a total of 3 of these sets because Mom wanted to give one set to each of her children as a keepsake from the time we spent there. I've always been extremely drawn to this set, not just because of the wonderful memories it evokes, but also because of the reminder of context. Thornwood comes in dark and light colors, and thus the characters in the nativity scene can reflect the people who live in that part of the world. The set is also a reminder of the way in which we obtained it. It was common for traders to come by our house, often with a couple of other porters who would carry a large variety of carvings and other Africana, as my mother used to call it. The artwork was wrapped up in a large piece of cloth, like a bed sheet or a tablecloth. The traders would stop by, announce their presence, spread the cloth out on the lawn, and then arrange the various pieces so that they would show well. This was followed by a very interesting bargaining session. a situation that appealed to my mother very much because she always had the feeling that she drove a hard bargain, and this was accomplished by her ability to say no if she felt that the price was too high. Of course, we never really knew whether the price was a good one, but the spectacle was entertaining and quite likely worth the extra cost if there was any.
This is the nativity that Katie and Brent bought us, well, and the children, bought me for my first Christmas in Yellowknife. Katie knew that I always had several little nativities at home in Newfoundland, and of course couldn't bring them with me. So this was her gift to us for Christmas, and of course it goes up every year. And if we have to go back to Newfoundland, we'll be added to the ones there. It's very different to the ones I have in Newfoundland, and I rather like it. I like Jim Shaw's work, so I'm very pleased with it.
This manger was a gift from my Aunt Anna to my mom some years ago. It was made by a craft shop, a ceramic craft shop in Cape Breton, and I remember the year that we got it. It was just not, one piece at a time for a birthday or Christmas or whatever. It was just everything all at once, and it was this beautiful, glistening white thing. So Mom was just delighted. So it was my Mom and Dad's primary manger scene for many years. And then it came to me because my Mom and Dad had moved up to Yellowknife and lived here for a while. And it came in the belongings that they shipped up. And when they left, I was really surprised she left it with me. So it's something that I have great attachment to. I've been using it now for a couple of years, and I just think it's beautiful.
This little crèche came to our family Christmas 1981. That was the year our son Steve was born. My mom and dad gave it to me. They bought it at a little European gift shop and deli in Calgary, and it's a place actually that my mom still loves to go to and loves to take me for lunch at when I go home to Calgary to visit. It's kind of tiny, and that was intentional. The idea was that it didn't matter where we lived or how big or how small our home was, there'd always be room for this little crèche. The very first problem was what to set it on. It just so happened that there'd been a pretty bad thunderstorm that summer that resulted in having to replace the roof on the house, and we had a leftover shingle. So a little square of the shingle became the base for the stable and the crèche. One of the challenges of this little crèche is that it doesn't take much to knock it over. At first it was kind of annoying when it happened, but over the years, 34 of them now, it's kind of become okay for it to tip over now and then, because it makes us stop, think about it for a minute, put it back together. Never goes together quite the same. Year after year, the shingle sits in a different place in the house. In fact, we try and put it in a different place every year just for something different to do. The other challenge was that it didn't come with the star. So one year we made a star, and that little construction paper yellow star has been taped, paper clipped, safety pinned, wherever it needed to be depending on where the crèche was in the house. It might hang from a wall hanging, it might have been taped to the wall. One year it was under a bookcase and on the top shelf of the bookcase hanging down with a little piece of fishing wire. I think that this nativity is a symbol of maybe what that first Christmas was like. A little lumpy, a little bit different, a little tippy, but important, and a symbol of what it means to be family and to be together.
So this Christmas nativity scene was given to me by my mom and dad, and it's compact and can travel a lot of places really easily, and that's been a great boon because we've traveled around quite a lot. Because it's a puzzle and there's a toy aspect to it that dovetails with the secular nature of the Christmas season, but also really allows you to enter into that Christmas story or the Christmas myth. And I find that there is something really almost sacramental about placing the pieces and deciding, are the sheep going to go on the left and the wise one's going to go on the right? And even the pieces themselves really require you to look at them when you set them up, because you have to take the piece of the puzzle and decide, well, is this one the cow or the sheep? And even the figures that are to represent humans, you have to look and you have to decide, oh, is this one baby Jesus or is that a sheep? And just the questioning aspect of that, I really enjoy the metaphor of that. And I come from a family tradition that is not traditionally religious. And my entry into exploring that part of life is something that's a little bit of a puzzle, I think, sometimes for other people in my family. But one of the things I love about this Christmas scene is that you can't keep your hands off it. Because it's wood and it's like a toy and it's like a puzzle, part of the Christmas tradition in my family with my two children, and I don't think they even know this, is that no one can walk by this, wherever it is set up, without wanting to pick up one of the pieces and maybe just turn it a little bit, or maybe just decide, you know, I actually think that might be a sheep, not a wise man. And so any 2 days in our house when this is out, it's not the same, because people change it and they feel really invited in to handle it and be part of it, and you don't have to be careful with it, and it's okay if they fall over, you just pick them up. And to me, that is just such a lovely metaphor for our relationship with the Creator.